Hello, my name is Jimai Farah, and today I'm going to present you Watching Black Panther with Racially Diverse Views, Relationship between Film Viewing, Ethnicity, Ethnic Identity, Empowerment, and Well-Being. So this study examines like the potential positive influence of the film Black Panther on American youth, particularly like youth of color. Previous research has shown that greater ethnic identity is associated with greater well-being and empowerment for African American. So this study also studied the influence of the film on well-being and empowerment, considering the roles of ethnicity and character identification. The results showed a main effect of film on empowerment, but not well-being like in the entire sample, with no main effect or interaction with ethnicity, and further analysis by individual ethnic group revealed increased well-being for Asian American and Black African American youth, and an increase of empowerment for Black African American youth after film viewing, and identification with the character of T'Challa, the Black Panther, was high across the sample and interacted positively with film on empowerment for Black African American participants. So, Black Panther, released in 2018, is a novel in the degree to which it features characters of African descent almost exclusively. The film disrupts traditional hegemony by showing a vision of what could be possible for Africans and Black African American if they were not helped by access to wealth or by systematic inequality. Outside the film, the cultural discussion focused in part on the historical instance of broadcasting the vision to the world and seeing how popular it is with audience of multiple races, as its commercialized success attested. In 2018, Black Panther was the highest grossing film domestically and the second one worldwide. And the study explore how a sample of teenager of predominantly Black African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American origin reacted to the film Black Panther, especially in relation to strength of ethnic identification and identification with the film hero and how those related to empowerment and well-being. And the study included those who might identify with the film hero due to racially similarity or due to their shared ethnic minority status and common history as a member of a historically vilified group. So the question of identification is nuanced, and scholars have often used demographic similarity to study identification with characters. For this reason, the study wondered whether Black African American participants might identify more strongly with Black Panther hero and therefore be more strongly influenced by the film. Narrative influence on real life is a significant aspect of human behavior, as story can influence belief, attitude, personality, and behavior. Research has shown that when one gets lost in a story, they are more likely to be moved by the story and persuaded by message like that are embedded within it. And the narrative engagement and identification with story character are linked, meaning that then that when transported by the story, we tend to identify with a character and take on that character's goal and motivation to the point where we may change our perspective to that of the character with whom we identify. And negative media representation result in a reduced sense of agency, lower self-esteem, and poorer self-concept valuation for member of group that are portrayed negatively. On the other hand, the dominant majority enjoy an enhanced sense of agency and higher level of self-esteem and self-concept valuation. So historically, popular media has tended to portray Black African American as uncivilized, illiterate, and other unintelligent, or as dangerous others, leading viewers to have a poor valuation of the social group as a whole. In recent decades, representation of Black African American in media has improved, moving away from deviant and dangerous stereotypes to portrayal of Black African American as hardworking and intelligent, and people with comparable occupation to those of their white counterparts. Evidence suggests that positive representations such as these can foster social change. A recent review of research on media representation of social groups reported that exposure to counter stereotypes of Black African American led to prejudice reduction. Another study found that white participants exposed to positive examples of Black African American were more likely to say that they would vote for a Black African American political candidate than a white political candidate with the same credentials. In the case of Black Panther, the portrayal of Black African character as powerful, benevolent, attractive, and smart would benefit Black African American youth and potentially other youth from marginalized ethnic groups. Previous year work found that greater ethnic identification predict greater empowerment and well-being for ethnic minorities, but not whites. And this study tested whether this prediction would hold true with Black African American adolescents, and whether watching Black Panther would also increase well-being and empowerment for Black African American youth differentially. So the study examined empowerment and well-being in current youth sample for whom there is a substantial hope for personal advancement, but who are still part of an ethnic group that experience marginalization. And the study found that ethnic identification in Black African American youth is positively related to both well-being and psychological empowerment. So exposure to Black Panther would differentially increase empowerment and well-being in Black African American youth compared to other ethnicity. So, in conclusion, narrative influence on real life is a crucial aspect of human behavior, and the portrayal of Black African American character in films can have significant impact on their well-being and self concept. So for the methodology, the study utilized a pre-test, post-test experiment design with one author watching the film with participants at each site and conducting a survey on their mobile phones immediately before and after film viewing. Both survey measure well-being, empowerment, and ethnic identification. Well-being was measured using the psychological and relational factors of the BBC well-being scale, while empowerment was measured using the desirability of control scale. General self efficacy scale, hopefulness measure, and personal mastery measure. Ethnic identification was measured using the multi group ethnic identity measure. So the study found that ethnic identification was a significant predictor of well-being with a significant effect on Black African American students only. The main effect of film exposure on empowerment was found to be significant only for Black African American participants with no significant interaction between ethnicity and film on well-being and empowerment. Regardless of ethnicity, participants identified highly with the Black Panther hero, and repeated measured analysis was conducted to test whether identification with the hero, recorded as high or low, interacted with film exposure on well-being and empowerment. The interaction was significant for change in empowerment, but not for change in well-being for Black African American participants. So, a linear regression between identification with the hero and changes in well being showed significance for Hispanic American, but the correlation was negative. Another linear regression between identification with the hero and change in empowerment was significant for Hispanic American and Black African American participants. There were no significant findings for identification with other characters. In conclusion, the study found that film exposure significantly influenced well-being and empowerment for Black African American students, with a positive effect on ethnic differences. To see the results a little bit more further, the study replicated finding that greater ethnic identification predicts greater well-being and empowerment in African Americans, extended these findings to a sample of high academic achieving Black African American youth. And this study found that viewing Black Panther increased empowerment, but not well-being in the sample in general, but there was no interaction with ethnicity. However, post hoc analysis run solely on individual ethnic group data indicated that the film effect on well-being was significant for Black African American and Asian American participants, only that the film effect on empowerment was significant for Black African American participants only. And these results suggest that film was particularly empowering for Black African American youth. They raised questions about how use of other ethnicity might be influenced, including how other intersecting audience demographic may play the role. Within Black Panther, we encounter representation of highly prosperous and respected Black African outside the film from a meta-analytic perspective, and we see how popular this vision is with all the ethnicity represented in this study. So our data suggested that the internal and meta vision offered by the film positively influenced by Black African American youth, and the Black Panther was inspirational in a personal way to the youth in general. Another facet of the film we explored was identification with both the hero and the anti-hero or villain. So the hero epitomized the highly desirable fictional character, strongly in body and character, and typically provoking stronger identification. A participant uniformly identify with the hero regardless of ethnicity. Again, evidence of the cultural value of the film, but identification with the villain is also worthy of much longer exploration than the study had the luxury of proving here, as the villain is the only Black African American character heavily featured in the film. Um, and thus may be seen by many in our sample as representing Black African American experience that include displacement, neglect, mistreatment, and suffering. However, the villain is a complex character, and our participants are likely to have seen him in different ways. Overall, the general trend for youth who watch Black Panther to feel an increased sense of empowerment is an important piece of evidence that popular culture does make a difference in the identity formation of youth of color. So the text explored the role of narrative persuasion in shaping the perception of African American in crime. It discussed various studies of the role of narrative in shaping perception of crime and as well as the impact of media on this perception. The text also discussed the role of media stereotype in shaping the racial identity, history, knowledge, and socialization of African American youth, and also despite the impact of television portrayals of Latinos on social identity and socialization. Finally, the influence of the Black masculinity game exemplar on social judgment. Um, the study have conducted research on the psychological empowerment on group identity of ethnic minorities, and they have also found that entertainment education effectively reduce prejudice among Latino and Black Americans. Finally, the text also discussed the concept of control in entertainment media narrative, which is a key aspect of understanding the impact of media on individual well-being. And the study explores the role of media in shaping the perception of race and well-being amongst African American. Yes. Thank you. That was it for my presentation.